3, 2, 1.
Sorry for delay.
It's okay. We're going to watch that attendees number rise and rise. Welcome, one and all who are joining us to, I'm going to start it again. Ready? Welcome to the SteadiSchool and Learn Filmmaking Zoom webinar Q&A with Ari Robbins, SOC. As attendees pour in, please click all panelists and attendees and let us know where you're joining us from. Good afternoon, good evening, different parts of the world. A lot of us on the panel are in Los Angeles, but we want to know where you're coming from.
Wow, people are coming in. Germany, Chicago, Pasadena, Russia. It's coming so fast. India, LA, Nashville.
Holy moly.
So,
Thank everyone for joining us. Wow, amazing.
Seattle. Brazil,
We wanted to let everybody know that has come in that there's a Q&A at the bottom of the screen there. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A part, and we will try to answer as many as possible throughout our time here today. We will not get to them all, but we will answer as many as we can in the limited time that we have. Thank you so much for being here. It's so great. So, my name is Matthew Borick. I am a Local 600 camera assistant and an instructor at SteadiSchool. Our mission is to offer hands-on training for operators and assistants through guided workshops and one-on-one mentorship. We have other industry professionals like myself and Jessica Lopez, SOC, who believe in giving back to the next generation. And I know I had mentors in my time, and so I'm excited to be now a mentor. With us is Chris Anaid. Did I say your last name right? I should have asked that.
Yeah, you did.
Great. And she's going to tell us briefly about Learn Filmmaking.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christian Anaid. I am with the Learn Filmmaking Instagram channel. And for all of you that don't follow us, find us on Instagram. We are an online community of filmmakers, videographers, and other visual creatives who support one another and help push the medium forward. So don't forget, follow us on Instagram.
Excellent stuff. Thank you. And so a big part of SteadiSchool is the Oner, and Jessica Lopez is going to talk to us briefly about what that is.
Sorry, I forget about the mute button. Hi guys, Jessica Lopez, SOC camera operator, Steadicam operator. Thank you so much for joining us. A lot of SteadiSchool is dealt with telling a story with the camera and wearing it. And so we create things called the single take Steadicam shot, which is also called the Oner. And basically, with the Steadicam, that's already isolating the camera from your body and keeping it stabilized and helping tell the story around corners and through stairs. We basically help tell that story with the contraption on our body, and we get you from A to B with the frame. And basically so much can happen anywhere from 1 minute to 20 minutes to 2 hours, depending on how long your shot is. You can meet an entire crew, see an entire location, understand the setting, the costumes, the story, everything in a single take.
Thank you so much, Jessica. At this point in time, I'm going to introduce my fellow panelists. Sarah May, please tell us about yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah May. I'm a camera operator and a student of Jess's at SteadiSchool. I briefly worked at Panavision for a little bit as a prep tech, and now kind of transitioning into the freelance world. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you for being here. Merlin.
Hi, everyone. Merlin Showalter here. Camera operator, Steadicam operator, mentee of Jess Lopez, member of SteadiSchool, and freelance camera operator and occasional cinematographer. Happy to be here.
Again, my name is Matthew Borick, and I'll be the moderator today. Chris, please introduce yourself again.
Hi, everyone. I am Chris. I am actually an actress, but I am actually, Jessica is a mentor of mine in this industry, so I'm very happy to be here with you all. And a funny story, I actually know Ari because I sold him a very beautiful card one day when I used to work at Innovative, which you are being shown right now. This beautiful Innovative card. Look at that. Don't you love your card?
Great stuff. Thank you again. And Jessica, please, if you'll introduce yourself.
Jessica Lopez, Steadicam camera operator, owner and creator of SteadiSchool with Matt Borg. Don't know. I keep watching Ari down there moving.
Sorry, I'm trying to get to a better internet place. Sorry, guys.
It's kind of throwing me off a little bit. Yeah, we're SteadiSchool. Welcome to our Q&A. I believe now we're going to introduce our main guest, Ari Robbins, SOC. Welcome.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. Pretty darn excited to be here. Wait, should I introduce myself, I suppose? Is that?
Yeah, what do you do?
Hi, I'm Ari Robbins, otherwise known as SteadiJew. I'm a camera operator, Steadicam operator, Trinity operator, and all sorts of operating things. I started in about 2004, took a workshop, one of the SOA's workshop, and began from there. Got my first rig when I was 21 and been shooting ever since. So yeah, it's been about, gosh, what was that, 15, 16 years? And yeah, it's been a pretty wild adventure. So thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for being with us. We're excited. We brought some amazing people together for you, and we have, seems to be over 300 participants right now. We hope to get to everybody's questions. I'm going to start off with a question, if you don't mind.
You know what? Let's watch this highlight reel first.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Visual accompaniment.
Briefly, here's a video from Ari's work. Thank you to Merlin for cutting this together for us.
I know some of these videos. Oh, fun days.
Make it look so easy.
You know, that's the fun of it. It is really easy. It's just, it takes time to get that ease, you know, a lot of time. And silly toys like that don't hurt.
Let's get right into some questions. Jess, I think you're ready to go.
Yeah, after seeing that, for sure. How do you choose between Steadicam, Trinity, and Maxima? And can you explain the concept of Trinity and what makes it different from Steadicam? And can you
I mean, there's, obviously Steadicam and Trinity are similar. I mean, they're a Steadicam sled, just a little bit more combined with gimbals and such. But, we have gimbals, we have Steadicams, and they're all amazing tools, and none of them replaces the other. Some can do similar things that the others can't do, and then they each have their own specialty. The way I like to work now, and one of the things that I've come to enjoy, is to have all of them available. So then when I go into a project, I say, hey, we should have this, we should have this, we should have this tool. And all of them will find a certain place throughout the film where it's just going to be the perfect thing for it. When going through day by day, like when I'm on set and all of them are available and we can, quickly maneuver between each tool, I guess a lot of the deciding comes from which is going to be the most reliable consistently. So if the Steadicam is the perfect way to do it and it's just going to be easy and simple and it's going to get it done, then I'll probably choose that. However, with like the Trinity or a gimbal, that's going to be the same principle of thought. Is this going to be the easiest consistent tool to get the job done? And some of those could be, different factors. Recently, I had a long shot on a movie coming out in June called The Five Bloods with Spike Lee. We had like a 300-foot run just through this insane terrain, following soldiers doing the whole thing. And we were on I believe a 416 with a zoom lens. So it's a pretty big setup for what it is, and you add all the wireless components and everything. And looking at it as a Steadicam, it's like, I probably could do the run, but 16 times, 17 times, 18 times, it becomes a bit more difficult. And then you have to ask yourself, well, what happens if I roll an ankle or something bad happens? So knowing that the possibility of that consistent, 16 takes perfect all the way through just seemed a bit much. So we decided, let's use the Maxima in what we call like a chopstick mode, where two guys hold it and the grips run. And what that gave us, it was operated remotely. What that gave us was a consistent way to achieve the shot without risk, without harm. And that's one of the things that you want to decide about. And as those things come up, timeline, what your schedule is in the day, all those things are going to be part of it. But when you have access to all of these tools and you know what they can do to achieve your goal, then it doesn't feel too difficult to decide to make that decision. Of course, those are kind of a little bit more grandiose circumstances. We're like, oh, we have all the tools in the world, we can do whatever we want. It's not so much that, it's just understanding that, as an operator, our goal is always just to tell the story the best way we can and to be invisible, to feel like the camera is not a present person in the scene. And that's really ultimately, I think, how we decide what's the best tool. What is the best method? And then some, it just comes down to like, I've had a lot of questions in La La Land, like, why did we not use gimbals? Why did we not use volts or waves? Some of these stabilization devices. And a lot of that came from, well, it's just not possible. We just can't put a giant 35mm camera in a gimbal yet. But if we could, we might have. It might have been the right tool for the job. And I think as an operator who at one point was very anti-gimbal, which I can say, there's quite a few Steadicam operators who were fairly anti-gimbal in the beginning. Learning to accept and embrace that was really a pleasure. And it took me a moment to do so, but then upon doing so, I now say, well, I would never want to do a job without these tools. It's just, you wouldn't want to go to a job without, sticks or a head or handheld or any of those things, or dolly. It becomes that same thing. So I think they're all similar and they're all very different. But as you learn and take time kind of exposing yourself to all of them, you'll find the perks and the cons of each.
And then by being well-versed in those different setups and then, having the communication with your crew and understanding the story, it actually allows efficiency and productivity and production value and all these things that come along with all that versatility. It just enhances the team and all the tools that you brought together by knowing all of that and being able to make those quick decisions and keeping the flow of the set and keeping the time of the camera department.
It's so true. And when you do get that time with your crew to kind of go through, you can really maximize every piece that you have. And sometimes with productions, you may not get that time to really go through and dial it all in. But if you as the operator are very aware of your tools and components, you'll save just enough time to make those options, work for your whole team. And a lot of them, and that's the neat thing about these new tools, stabilizers, Trinities, gimbals, everything. What used to just be the Steadicam operator performing now become a 2 or 3 person team. And that's really fascinating because, it's neat to be involved in one camera move that involves so many different people and, you know, things coming together. But having that understanding and knowing it yourself is really going to be the key to make those instruments work best for everyone. So I say how I decide is I spend time understanding the tool so that I know how to you know, approach the next task. Thought of reading? I don't read. Who am I kidding?
All right, Matt.
Excellent stuff. So Chris, if you want to throw a question from the audience at us, we'd love to hear one.
Perfect. So this question is from Gil Raimundi. I am a Steadicam operator in Puerto Rico. How can I make myself known? I already have a demo, but I don't know what more to do.
You know, that's a good question. And the answer to that question has changed over the years. I mean, you know, actually funny enough, from when Jessica and I started as operators, the way you would go about work was completely different to what it is now. I mean, this was pre-YouTube, pre-Facebook, you know, all of these things. I guess I don't know everybody's market, and I know each one will be different, but the reality is that you want to get out there, there's no reason not to. Push for everything. There's no job that's too big or too small or not good enough, whatever. Just put yourself out there, keep working at it. Don't expect anything to come from each result, and just keep going and going and going, because you never know what it's going to be. That's going to be the thing that accelerates you to that next level. And I don't think pushing is necessarily the way, because I think, you know, there's a lot of people who want to do what we do. There's a lot of options, there's a lot of opportunities, but making yourself available, knocking on those doors doesn't hurt. And the more you do it, the easier it will become. My very start, I used to sit on Craigslist, and every 30 minutes I'd answer everything, you know, just constantly reply. And maybe I'd get one of those a week, but that one would just be one. And that's just where it comes. You just got to keep pushing every day. I mean, you got to look at it as, if you could be at your house sitting and not doing what you love, but there's an option out there to go do what you love, just go take it. And anything else, I mean, obviously protect yourself and your gear and your circumstances, but put yourself out there, because you'll never know whatever's going to lead from it. It's just the kind of the joy of keeping going.
Great answer. Thank you. I've got another one from the audience, from Thomas French, who's asking, what was your first rig? What would you recommend for a first rig now?
Oh, that's a good question. My first rig was a Model 3, which was basically the first mass production Steadicam rig. I'm going to use a foul word. It was a piece of shit. I mean, it was just the worst rig you could get. I think I lent it to one person once, and they gave it back to me, and they said, this rig cannot be operated. It should just be broken. It should be in the trash. And it was a really tough rig. The Model 3 had none of the adjustments that we've come so used to, which is an adjustable top stage, an adjustable telescoping post. You couldn't arrange the batteries and anything. That really helped me, because I had to learn on the base route. I mean, I had basically a pole with a battery. I mean, it was garbage. But what that did is it caused me to think about all the things necessary to do in order to get better with it. And it's like, the idea is, if you just learn to drive and you hopped into a Ferrari, you would not be able to use the vehicle very well. So that was kind of the thing, is I hopped in with like 2 wheels and a steering wheel, and that's it. And that helped me accelerate my own learning. So I'd say it was good for me. I don't know if it's a repeatable thing, and I don't know if I would wish that upon anyone anymore. Fortunately, there are better rigs nowadays that don't require you having to sit there and beat yourself in the head for your decisions. But for starting rigs, for those who are choosing which is the right device for me and how do I get in, and obviously when you look at all of them, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for everyone. I mean, they're just not cheap tools. I mean, it's a specialty rig. What I will say is 2 things. One, try every piece of gear, everything. There's no brand that's better or worse. The brand that's best for you is the one that's best. And I think the more you allow yourself to experience them and kind of get used to them and try them out, the more comfortable you'll feel with your purchase. And ultimately, that's important. I can't tell you how difficult it was for my first few years to have this tool that I just hated because it was garbage. It was instrumental in getting there, but you don't want to put yourself in a place where you've got something, you don't love it, you're not as excited, it's not inspiring you, because then you won't feel as passionate to do it. But when you are deciding to buy a rig, there's one thing I will say. When you choose to get one, go a little bigger. And when I say go a little bigger, I don't mean spend more money, get a bigger one, get the bells and whistles. I just mean this. When you purchase a rig, the last thing you're going to want is to finally start getting moving and you're getting calls and things are good. And you get that great first call and they go, oh, hey, can you fly this? And you go, no, I can't. And so you say, oh man, I have to go spend more money now to get the tool that I need to do the jobs I'm actually capable of. So when you're deciding to do that, you don't want to be in a money pit. You don't want to buy one rig, it only works for a little, you buy another, you lose parts, you lose components. Think about your longest term and your best opportunity. A $500 rig, if that's going to work for 5 years for you, that's perfect. But if that $500 rig is only going to work for 6 months, and then you need to spend another $1,000 and another $1,000, you ultimately should have just spent that $5,000 in the beginning. One of the things that was very hard for me is I would go to work for like $100, and I would get there, and this old part would break, and it would cost $400 to replace, and I'd say, "Oi, I went to work, and now I owe more money." So when you're buying rigs and things like that, you have to consider that. Maybe the cheaper monitor is good, but if the cheaper monitor forces you to have to buy another monitor later, then you're in the same boat. You might as well have spent it sooner. And that's a confident and a commitment thing. If you really believe in what you're doing and why you want to do it, put some faith and trust in yourself. Maybe spend a little bit more. Maybe get yourself in a little bit more of a hole, because digging yourself out of that will be some of the confidence you need in order to keep going. That was a long answer.
No, but it was great advice. Thank you for it. That was detailed in all the right ways. Sarah May, do you have a question? I think that you guys have something in common. And so.
You, yeah, you have a background in dance, if I'm not mistaken. Do you feel that having a background in dance has helped you start out as an operator, as well as kind of influenced you on what jobs you're taking or how you map out your oneers?
Absolutely. I actually was never a dancer. I've got 3 left feet. I'm that bad. But luckily, my mom always used to take me to, ballets and dances and theater and things like that. So I was always a little bit more appreciative of it. My mom was a dancer as well. She has the good moves. I don't know what I got. I always enjoyed that sense of movement and motion, and being someone who wasn't really someone who does it, Steadicam was kind of like, oh, I could be involved in that same way. But understanding the motion of the body is what dance really allows. And that's one of the things that we are always subject to. And it could be anything from as quick as a character does this. You just have to understand the way the body moves and the motion and what that can or couldn't be. I mean, if my arm can go that far, then you know where the frame is. But if you don't think it's there, then that's a totally different shot. Dance allows you to understand that kind of motion and movement. And then when you tie it into music, it gives you that beat, that moment to work in. And when you think about doing a large shot or, a big, complex piece, that same thing applies, that understanding of motion, body, of timing and everything. And then you just remove the music. It's still the art of the moment. I mean, you're going to know when I'm going to go like that's the moment. And understanding the way that it all combines is one of the keys. So dance to me was just something I always enjoyed. Music was always something I enjoyed. But I realized very early that it was a great way to communicate with the camera. And ultimately, I would say, when I started, music videos were kind of a thing, kind of not. But for a young operator, getting to music videos was a huge thing. That was maybe the easiest way to get started. And ultimately, it was what I liked. So it was a great way to get going. And it turned into, I got very fortunate and lucky that my first big movie happened to be, music relative. So, it kind of timed out right. And there's no accidents in that. But I would encourage all operators, if you're musically inclined, dance inclined, doesn't matter. Working with artists, with dancers like that can really be helpful all around to your skill set and to your ability. It's just a beautiful dance to learn how to do. And funny enough, Jess a long time ago showed me this video. It was like her doing this shot with like 30 dancers. And I watched it and I was like, I don't even know how that's possible. I didn't even know where you were. How did you do that? And because the camera can move so fluidly within that you start to learn how to be invisible, how to be part of it. And I think that's why it's so helpful. And I would encourage most operators to get into music related projects. It's very helpful.
Yeah, rehearsals are fun. I mean, I can watch a rehearsal over and over and understand my moments of when I need to get in and out before I get hurt or someone else gets hurt, or even just knowing the timing to keep it the consistency of a usable shot.
And that's the thing, is that understanding dance and movement will allow you to find your parameters in a moment. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about dance, is the more you start to play with it, you can start seeing, well, oh, look how that hand floats. I'm going to push in right as it does that to kind of accent it. And then the only thing different when working with actors in a scene is it's just not dance. But all of those little tail, like those little tells, like, you know, in poker, like your tail plays or whatever. I don't play poker. Those things start to be present to you, and you start to see them. You know what the movement of an eye is, or the movement of a shoulder might mean. And then you can start expressing that a little bit more because you know. So dance is a great overall to teach you that element. But I mean, I also think it's probably a good thing to do for practice for all of us, is we probably all should be dancers, but lazy.
And then along with that, just a note, like listening to the music beforehand will also prepare you for those moves, for knowing, you know, how long of a shot you might be in for as well.
The music music and tone will tell you a lot. And one of the great things you can do with projects that aren't dance related, like if maybe your first television show or your first movie, is you might ask the director, hey, what's your score going to be like? What are the songs that you're going to use? Because those things will tell you emotion, and music is, I mean, it's all feeling. So understanding how the audio plays into what you're doing, vastly important. I mean, you can always use that to assist yourself. I forgot I was going to say something, but I totally forgot it. So probably wasn't important. It's probably some really good tip that I totally just forgot, and you guys will all miss it.
Don't worry, it'll circle back. Watch.
And this won't be the first time that you forget it either.
Probably not. I'm just going to erase, file erase on everything each day. COVID.
That's great. Chris, if you had another one from the audience, and persons in the audience, thank you so much for being here. We have so many questions already. We're going to get to as many as we can throughout. If you throw them in the chat, please remember that there's the Q&A on the side here, and that'll help us keep them organized. But Chris, go ahead.
Hi, so this is a question from Anthony Gutierrez. How important is it to start looking for an agent / representation to help you find work?
That's a good question. It's probably specific to each operator, their market, and what they feel that they want. I've gone through a few different agents in my career. I think I started maybe 4 or 5 years in. I had kind of like a mutual friend, and they would be willing to bring me on. I mean, I was a little young and probably didn't need it. But I think when deciding about an agent, it's really up to you. I mean, most agents, they're not going to get you work. They're not going to find you jobs. They're not going to take the responsibility of making sure you get to set. That's always going to be upon you. So when deciding what an agent may or may not be for you, ultimately it's a relationship, and it's one that should come from trust and care. I mean, you don't want someone who's going to be taking even a penny of yours if you don't feel comfortable in that. And the agent that I have now, her name is Deborah Martone, and it's Martone Management. She's an independent agent, and she's wonderful. And the thing that she's wonderful for me is she does the great job, just as all of the agents will do. All of the agents out there are going to do a great job for you. But for me, it's that trust. It's that communication. I often will get on the phone with her and have a 2-hour conversation about all sorts of things. And that's the thing, it's a relationship. And that's what's most important. So as you're considering an agent, think about that first. I mean, this is somebody that is going to be in your ring, part of your team, and they should be feeling that with you. As far as deciding when that time might come, I think it's going to be different for everyone. Some of us are a little bit better at negotiating. Some of us aren't. Some of us need a little bit more management and organization. So I'd say, if you find yourself at that time where you say, gosh, I really think this would assist me, then maybe it is the right time. But if you don't feel that that's it, there's no need to get one. I've heard many producers say they don't mind. They don't care if it's an agent or not. It's just, they just want to feel like they can, get you there. They want you. They just want to be able to get you there. Don't rush it. Don't wait too long. I guess there's been times where I really should have had an agent negotiate for me. I may have made better choices that way. And it's not just monetary, it's safety and security. I mean, there's that guarantee. Am I safe? Is my gear safe? Is anything possible? And that might be one of the things that was more important to you. But when the time comes and you're really there, that's how you know you'll be there. And when you decide, base it on your heart and your feelings. Don't worry about how big the agency is, how small it is, who, what, where. Don't worry about who else is in the agency, you know, this, that, the other. Just what's best for you is going to be what's best for you, and nothing else is going to work.
Well, also sometimes the agent will find you too. So if you just keep working and plugging away and just doing your thing, your work will speak for itself. And I think that's what happened with us. Your agent found you, my agent found me, you know, and then my new agent, I actually got a referral for. So it just all depends.
It's going to happen naturally in the way it does. But if you really feel that you need one to better yourself, then go approach, you know, send them emails, say hello. They might not sign you immediately, but at least they know who you are. One of the agencies I talked to, I said, hey guys, I don't need you to find me a darn thing. I don't need anything. I just need someone to manage this stuff. Just, you know, help me figure out where I'm going. And that was when it was important. But, you know, give it a shot. Put yourself out there. I always think with agencies and Steadicam operators in all of our business, the more you know, the more you understand, that's going to accelerate your career more than anything. Strangely to me, the more you know who's on the agencies, both as cinematographers, production designers, and everything, that's the working group of the film industry. So pay attention to those no matter what.
Great, again, thank you.
Of course.
I've got one from the audience. Madeline Momano is asking, can you explain your process for how you execute a long shot or a oner? What is involved in pre-production, and how do you approach rehearsals on set? And with this, I'm actually going to play a clip from the show Reprisal, which we can talk over so that you can discuss how this happened for you guys leading up to the shot and then executing it.
Surely. Should I let it play a little and give it a go? So overall, in this shot, I was told maybe about a week, and this was done in Wilmington. I live in LA. So when we flew out there, I knew that this shot was coming. This was all built in a stage, so we had the time to kind of lay through it. But I never was fully told exactly what the shot was going to be until the day we were doing it. And that's going to happen often. Fortunately, I was able to at least go to the space and kind of take a look and go for it. But it's always going to be different. Every project's going to have a different availability for pre-production. You may get a little and you may get a lot. With La La Land, for me, I mean, we had months, all the rehearsals. Everything that we were aiming to do was pre-vision, set and ready to go before we even got there. And that was one of the great perks. Obviously, it made it very simple. But you're going to have days in your career where you show up to work and they're like, okay, so here's what we got for you. And it's going to be like, oh, my Lord. Okay, I didn't know we were about to do this 2-minute mega shot. But that will happen. The key is that you'll always wish that you had more. And sometimes if you don't have that time in rehearsals, actually, I'm going to pause really quick. There's this really great moment in this video. This is what I love about it. That arm right there is my dolly grip who's supporting me. Now, in the shot, you're going to watch the girl above right here. She's going to go into this little covered thing and watch this thing fly out. That right there. Now, if you look at the BTS, you'll see it fly out. See how my dolly grip goes right to where that thing was and picked it up? My feet were about 2 steps away before he picked that up. And that's the thing, is like preparing in advance. I always just love that because it's, a guy behind you who is a dolly grip. He's not operating the shot, but he just saved the entire shot. I mean, that would have been like, whoop, I'm on the ground had it not. Neat stuff. But for rehearsals and things, the more you're prepared yourself, the more capable and qualified you feel to do your task, not what they want, but what you're capable of, whatever amount of time you have is going to be enough. When you trust yourself and your abilities and your gear, you'll be okay with it. I mean, I've had beautiful oners come out of, hey, what if we just did this? And I've had really bad oners come out of months in preparation. So the key thing is get yourself to that point comfortably where when they throw anything at you, it's just a little walk in the talk, walk in the park, easy, simple. Know yourself, know your abilities. Be willing to push that envelope a little, because that's part of what that's what we all love to do. However, that's the key is get comfortable in here, and no amount of rehearsal will make a difference. You'll be fine.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. Jess, how about, do you have anything for Ari at this point?
Of course I do. So since we're in the topics of winners, and that's like my favorite thing to do as a Steadicam op for sure. How important is the rehearsal process? Can we go over that? Because, you know, we discussed it in detail just a little bit, but we have another clip that we can play, watch a little bit of it, but there's some serious technical achievements that you created in the Justin Timberlake video as like on team, lighting, grip, electric, camera, like everyone like worked together to achieve it and pulled it off. But you did something in the shots where you're focusing, irising, and zooming. Your camera team is at the same time, and then you know, it's just a single take Steadicam shot, which I love, and it's getting through all this depth and this amazing historical building. It's with famous artists. It's pretty.
It's all live too. Even just the recording, even the actual audio recording was all live. There's like hundreds of mics all the way through. Before we play the clip, just one thing when it comes to rehearsals. Something that's new nowadays that we have that other generations didn't is the availability of iPhones. And that sounds silly, but you're going to see a lot more previs opportunity now than ever before. And that is a very useful tool. Yeah, I mean, all of us could go shoot a rehearsal one right now. That is a very, very useful resource. With all that there is now, use every bit for your rehearsals. You know, any information that you can get. It's never a problem to ask for location photos, talent height. Are they going to be wearing heels? Are they going to be wearing a big coat? Like finding out all those details, asking the questions, and you know, be mindful. Not everyone likes to be asked a million questions right before a job. But try to find those details and try to understand which ones are important to you. For me, I'm not that tall. So I kind of always need to know ahead, hey, am I gonna be shooting a 7-foot tall guy and a 5'4" girl? I need to know that because I have to cater myself for that. Or it's little things. Are we gonna be walking through this area? Okay, great. Is it gonna be wet down? You know, is it gonna be cool and reflective at night? That might change the way my shoes that I would approach wear. You know, all those little things are gonna come in. So ask as many questions like that and ask them based on what you know you need to do your job. I mean, it's so important to understand your method of going about it, your approach. And in order to define that, moderate yourself. You know, that's where know thyself. I guess that's the silliest thing to say, but that's where an operator is going to be able to use any amount of rehearsal, any amount of previs, any amount of anything to really, really, really dial in what they want. Sorry, I always feel weird when the question is like, is it frozen? And like everyone's just stopped, like, and I'm just rambling.
No, it's just everyone's listening is the thing. And at this point, though, we'll get into the video so that everyone can see kind of what we're talking about.
And we'll watch a little bit of this for a minute, and then we can discuss.
Such a fun shot, such a fun day. This was about a week, start to finish. So just to let you know, like how long it took before it was, hey, this is what we're, you know, the director had the job, was starting to shooting.
What's the camera?
We flew a, what is it, 42 to 40, the Panavision 10-1 on a Mini, an Alexa Mini. Which when I got the phone call and someone said, hey, do you want to fly this 10-1 on a Mini? I was like, you kids are crazy. But it also got me very excited. And it was a never before done thing. We had to build custom bracketry. Panavision built us specialty pieces to be able to do it. And ultimately, it was because of that lens choice that made this job easy. Had this been on a smaller camera and a smaller system, it would have been a much more difficult job. And that's the thing, is you know what you're getting into, you know what the pieces are. So this is a moment I love. When we measured distance, we had the first AC was Jenna Hoffman. She was the focus puller on this. we literally measured that if I was like back of the camera was against the elevator, we were exactly at minimum. So we almost didn't even have room to adjust that, but we started to, work that out together. And I'll still tell you, I was actually going to ask her, I don't even know how her and the DP, like where they are is a whole other wonder of how they're moving and doing it. It's so wild. And that's what it takes. It's part of it.
So they traveled with you, or were they
They were on a
stationary?
whole nother floor. They were moving in synchron. I mean, they would probably have their own path of a wonder. If, like, we asked them like how they did it, they'd have their own little wonder. So here's where the zoom really starts to trigger. And this was the key reason to have such a long zoom. He's literally across the building there. I don't remember exactly how far we got up, but it was a pretty long lens.
Were you zooming, or was someone else zooming?
So the cinematographer, Bill Kirsten, was zooming. Jenna was doing focus. They decided to do it that way, and ultimately they actually worked like a mini team. They had to figure out where they're going to be, how they were going to do it. I remember she went through and measured every single place and step of the entire building. Bill had all his notes for where he was going to zoom to. And it was like everybody was creating their own element of what they needed to do to get it done.
Were there iris racks as well, or was the overall lighting consistent?
I don't recall there being an iris rack. There may have been, but I'm not 100%. I couldn't tell you exactly how or when. I will tell you, originally we were supposed to shoot this in the day, and we did. And all of this lighting cues and things was like last minute stuff. The DP just was like, gotcha. And ultimately, this is the one they chose. He really wanted to shoot at the time we did, which is when you look up to the sky, there's blue in the ceiling, and that was why we wanted to shoot this one. But I mean, the emotion from the darkness and the light, it's just gorgeous. And so here he's triggering a zoom. And I told the DP, I said, I'll feel you when you're going. I'm aware of my frame and control length. Go ahead and do it, and I'll make the adjustments how that happens. If I was too aware of it, I'd be expecting, and it wouldn't be instinctual anymore. It wouldn't be based off the feeling of the moment. And I kind of like that. I'm like, let it exist, let it live, and whatever happens will be charmed. Yeah, I don't even know where Bill and Jenna were at this. They're doing some crazy magician, wacky stuff, and God knows where.
Were you on comms for this during the take?
No, I was tied into Justin's music, so I could hear them perfectly in any place, like the whole, I don't know, mixed theme. But no, there was no once we got going, it was just me with them, just moving through. There was nothing else, which I actually got to listen to Justin's like the inner dialogue with his team, and he's just such a sweetheart. I mean, we'd finish takes and he'd just be cracking jokes and having a great time. You could see how by doing that for all of his musicians and team, he's thinking about them. He's making it work. And I just thought that was so beautiful. And that passion, you could feel all the way through and through. The funny thing about all of this, and when you're going through wonders, the one thing you have to consider is the team. Every single part of that is important. And the morale of making sure everybody feels that and understands is vital. This whole video is great, but you know who really saves the day? The elevator operators. And those guys were the guys that just worked there. I mean, those guys just came into work and were like, all right, we're doing this today. But if they had messed up, we would have never succeeded. And so that's the thing, the devils are in the details. Like, you really have to involve everyone. You'll do a very big shot, and an extra will like cross at the wrong time and it messes it up. And the first thing you're just like, oh, I just want to yell at them. That's what an AD might do. But if you really want to help the entire team, consider and care about every individual involved, because it's hard for all of us. So really embrace everything going on. I always feel like as a Steadicam operator, when you're doing these big moves, that's when you're like the mini director. That's when it's your chance to go, hey, I know you're crossing right there. That was really good. That was a good job. Do you think maybe we could do it like this? Or everybody's involved. Morale is huge when it comes to these things, and it can take one bad take to really start that downward slide. So really, really, really take part of everyone. And one of the best things an operator can do after a good shot is just go and thank everyone. hey, good job on that one. Oh, you nailed that one on that one. Like, inspire your team. They're going to help you achieve it too. And ultimately, you don't want to do 50 takes. Probably should communicate with everybody. You know, get yourself to 10 takes by making sure you solve the problems of yours and everyone else's.
How many takes did you do?
So this is actually quite interesting. Excuse me. Justin was very specific on, he did not want to do more than 7 takes. And his feeling was that the heart and the soul would be lost. Is that once we start just kind of doing our job and doing routine, that it wouldn't have that feeling anymore. And I really respect that. I mean, I thought that was such a beautiful thing to do. I also liked the challenge. It was like, ooh, okay, only 7 tries. It was very specific. And actually, I think we only did like 2 at night, or maybe 3, but I think I flubbed 1 take. It probably was usable, but it had a little wiggle wobble on the stairs. I don't like it. But that is one of the things, is that you are going to feel that emotion of the moment, and then you're going to get to take 30, 40, and 50. I mean, I've done takes up to 66, 67. It comes and goes. It ebbs and flows. You'll go into, it's like you're just in auto mode, and then you're back into heart, then auto mode, then back in the heart. But with him, because of that live recording, I think it was very, very important for him to not feel like this is just something everyone had seen. You know, it's just not as lively. And that's something that as operators, you have to be prepared for. One of the shots we did in La La Land, we rehearsed for 8 hours, and we'd only have 3 takes a day. That was it. We could do 5, but the first and the 5th were always not going to be exposed. So you had 3 takes, which means if you messed up once, you were like, oh my God, I got to go again. And that was all wheels. So I didn't have that trust of the Steadicam. And that's the thing, is that you are going to have those limitations. You are going to be put in those zones. And the best thing you can do for the entire team, make it easy. Just make it easy. That's why it's always, people always ask me, how that looks so hard? No, it's really easy, because you got to keep that zen inside, and that'll help everybody.
Hey, to tag on to the morale thing of the Justin Timberlake video, what was also very significant in that video, and it's not talked about that much, is the actual location itself. That is one of the most historical buildings in Los Angeles, and the Bradbury Building, and that's where Blade Runner was shot.
Oh yeah. The director really wanted to find a space where that not only did that history, but it really felt the tone and thing. And so when he chose the Bradbury, it was like honoring the structure and honoring the building. And as you're shooting each scene, maybe it's not in a place like that, but think about those kind of things. I mean, a grandiose vista is a grandiose vista, but it's like, where's the little details? Like, where's the little heart and soul of where you're at? And as you're learning to take in each piece, and this is why I say one of the best things we can all do for ourselves is study work from the past, looking at photography, looking at places, understanding what is so important. And as you're building that through any shot, you can add those like little manipulations, little subtlety to kind of appreciate what you're doing. And to me, that's what makes that, the Bradbury makes that so much soul. And I think we honor the location by doing so. I think that's important.
The most important part about the location was those railings you guys were shooting through, actually. Those were all casted by hand in the late 1800s. So that's all molded and created by people.
And I think because of the way, the appreciation that the director felt about that and what we were doing, I feel like the place, all of like the gates and everything, like you really feel the moments of it. And that's one of the things. And that may be a framing choice that you make while you're doing it. It may not be, but at least understanding that, at least like allowing yourself to feel the power of each bit will help you decide. And that's what makes it easier, because you're just enjoying it. You're not thinking like, oh, I better headroom here. You're just like, oh man, this is great. And so keep yourself going through that. Allow yourself to feel each piece.
Excellent dialogue again. No, this has been great. I'm having a great time. I hope everyone else is. Thank you all for being here. We're going to try to get to everyone's questions. What?
I was going to say, I have a giant cue card guy here. There's someone who's just like, he's got big things up. I'm just reading all this. This is awesome.
This is perfect. Whatever makes it work. Chris, if you have a question from the audience for us, I'd love to hear another one.
So I actually have a question for you. It's a very similar question between a lot of the attendees. So I'm using Jessica pins. what physical advice do you have for flying the rig? What specific exercises do you use for training outside of the rig? And in addition to that, how do you protect your back and your joints?
You know, there's been a lot of questions about that. It's a really important topic, and I think everybody's very curious as to what that is. So I'd love to explain a little bit more. First of all, the best thing you can do is wear the rig. I mean, if you can get in a rig, you can put some weight on it, and you can just walk and maneuver. That is the best exercise because you're training the muscle memory, and that is the most vital. There are physical exercises that you could do that might, you know, help your back or your body and your leg. I've never really been a big like weightlifter guy. I mean, really. But size, muscles, all of those things do not matter. You do not need to be any size or shape or build for Steadicam. It's just not one of those things to worry about. Like, do I got to do a million of these exercises to get there? If you feel like you do, go for it. But it does not make a difference. I've seen the littlest people do some of the most amazing things. And I've seen these massive dudes just struggle. So wear the rig because it eventually is going to be a part of you. It is going to feel like an extension of your body. It's going to feel as sensitive as any part of you. So the best thing you can do, spend time in the rig. I mean, I'll tell you, when I bought my first vest, like my first real vest, I slept in it for like 2 weeks. It sucked. I like never got a good night's sleep. I was on my first like big movie, I had my new big rig, and I was at night being like, oh God, this is painful. But that's just, I needed to mold it to me. You know, I had to get it to work for me. So first and foremost, wear the rig. Wear the rig, wear the rig, wear the rig. Don't worry about how your shot looks. I mean, even if just walking around and doing household items in your vest and in your arm, just do it. And that's going to just help all of it. You know, as far as physical things, take care of your body. All of us do different ways. Some stretch more, some do yoga. Everybody does a little bit. You have to listen to your body. I can tell you not so much of what I should do or would recommend, but I can tell you my body was like, you probably should have did that a few years ago. Switch sides, do different things. Just try other stuff. When it comes to not wearing the rig and not physical exercise, this is going to sound very strange, but video games. Strangely enough, video games are a very, very active way to help. It's hand-eye coordination. It's using two different thumbs, you know, movement and aim, which is gimbal and arm. It's manual dexterity. It's hand-eye coordination. It's, you know, any game out there is going to have that principle. I mean, a driving game. I mean, you know, I hate to use this as an example, but there's a racing game where I think one of the racers who's in the game got into the actual racing league. And I think he like beat a guy, like a real racer, from going from video games to real life. He won. So video games are a cheap and efficient way to be able to practice. And if you really want a fun way to do it, I'm going to grab an item. If you guys can give me one, you know what, I'll use this. If you're walking around your house doing this, you see how that's holding a horizon? Grab a glass of wine, maybe drink it, maybe don't, depending on what you do. Hold it in your hands like this and just walk around, just to see it, just to see how you're doing. If I go like that, oh, look how the water moves and its momentum. Get a little leveler, like those little levelers that you can find, you know, anywhere. Put one in your hand and just maneuver through your house. Go for a walk and hold it around. Your neighbors will think you're real weird. But little things like that are a great way to practice and get started. They don't cost anything. It's simple. I mean, I hope most people have a cup. You don't have to use wine. I like red. Try stuff like that. But otherwise, do as much physical thing. Like, it's not going to hurt to work out. It's just not. You know, working on your back, working on your hips, flexing, movement. There's nothing you can do that's going to be wrong. But more is better. More. Every day that you're not in it, you're wasting time. You know, you could be practicing. You could be harnessing. And if you're not doing something physical, go look at photography, go watch old movies, go watch dancers. I mean, these are the things that you can be doing. As simple as that.
That creates a great segue to the next question I'm going to pull from the audience. I'm not even going to try and pronounce your name, and my apologies. This person says, a friend of mine, a photographer who has been involved in photography for 20 years, told me that he has been studying composition all his life. How did you learn this foundation, the idea of the frame? That's
a very good question. I I think a lot of it is just doing so. I mean, always looking. I mean, you just watch stuff. I suppose you keep, you know, you just look, you know, photography, artist. I like to think of it like this. If you were to go back in time, like a few hundred years, and you look at the way paintings were done, the way portraits were done, you'd see the way that they would be positioned, how they would stand, how they would look, how it was done. And then you go all the way up to now, and you're like, you know, this is the new modern portrait, right? The selfie look. And that's part of history. That's part of who we are and how we capture ourselves. So just anything and everything, just, you're always going to be studying that. And you should always find ways to make yourself wrong. You know, if you know, oh, well, that's how that looks. What about that? What about this? Ask yourselves, and ask yourself how you feel when you look at things. A lot of the things is we look at it and we go, all right, I want to emulate that. I want to make that possible. But ask yourself how it makes you feel when you look at it. How do you like it when something's framed, you know, like this or like that or like that? You know, you got to see what it makes you feel. And the more you can ask yourself those questions, the more in tune you'll become with the why of what composition is. And composition ultimately is going to be everything. Break the rules. Just break the rules. Find what you love and break the rules. That's the best way to keep learning composition. There's nothing wrong ever. It's always right.
There's a famous artist, he just passed away, sadly, but his name's John Baldessari, and a lot of his art got very popular for exactly that, like taking the frame of a picture and breaking the rules, and there's like a big tree coming out of his head, you know, it's just short side, like all throughout the 70s, the 60s, the 80s, you know, before it was a thing to do now. But he's a really good artist to study based on that kind of stuff, breaking the rules.
Knowing those are exactly what we should all be doing for ourselves when we're not out on the job and doing so. And you know what? The more you do it, the more you'll want to understand where other people see it too. You know, like I'll do a shot and someone will be like, oh, that's so amazing. It looks beautiful. And I'm like, are you kidding? The headroom's wrong. He's over here. It's not right. What's going on? You have to understand how different people view those things and where their emotional highlight is, and then appreciate all of that. So the more knowledge you can, the better. Just always keep looking, researching. I mean, even just going through Instagram and scrolling, you are taking in information. You are examining those things. It's just how much aware of it are you going to be?
That's great. Merlin, do you have a question lined up for Mr. Robbins?
Sure do. So we've been talking a lot about Steadicam, but as a camera operator, you use many different forms of moving the camera. So how do you approach, say, handheld, and how does that differ in your approach to, say, working on a studio mode rig? How do you sharpen your different skills?
I personally, I don't think I'm very good at handheld. It's not my favorite. I've spent too many years in the rig, so it just kind of feels a little different for me. I'm always kind of like, hey, let's let BCam do that one. Maybe the DP wants to do it. I'm just not that great at it. If I had spent more time in it, I think I would be better. But I guess the rules are always, the idea is always the same. And when you're doing whatever tool it is, just think of the story and what it is going to be, why you're doing it. Sometimes I'll do shots in handheld and I just am like, it looks so messy. And they're like, we love that. And then on the next take, I'll be like, it was so messy. I better try to like make this smoother and nicer. And then it doesn't look as good. Yeah, so when you're using each tool, just think of the story, just think of the moment, think about what the characters are going through, and try to base your tool off of that connection. And the rules of how it works and what's better in that, it's going to change every day. I mean, you're going to have some DP who's like, that's way too clean. And then you're going to have another DP, that's way too dirty. So the thing is that you just want to be true to the story with each device you use, and whichever one is the chosen one, maybe it's one you decide, maybe it's one the director decides. There's a million different reasons as why, but just always consider that with each one you're doing. Learn when to chase, when not to chase, when to adjust too fast, too slow. But follow the emotion of the scene. Let the scene guide you where it's going to be with each tool, and then the rest will be the same. Does that kind of answer it?
Yeah, I have a follow-up to that. So there's a lot of techno crane on La La Land and other projects you've done. When operating a remote head, do you prefer wheels or a mimic system or a remote fluid or joystick?
I prefer wheels. It's just what I'm a little bit more fluid in. I think we have a video. Do we have a video with a pan bar? I don't know if we do. That's a different type. Some people are very particular when they operate a crane that they want a pan bar versus the wheels. Oh yeah, so here you go. I don't love the pan bar, but for the speed at which this shot was, this was what was necessary to do it. And the DP said, hey man, I got us a pan bar. We have wheels over there, but I really think it would be the better way to go. And he was right. It was absolutely the best way to do it. Joysticks for me, as much as I'm like a video gamer, I actually don't like joysticks at all. They don't work for me. Wheels are something every operator, oh yeah, you can see like that was part of it, is doing that 90 degree and running, around the tripod like that. And that's what you get when you've got to do a giant 180, more or less a sensitive whip pan, and then the rise that it was.
That was from Battle of the Sexes, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like the ending shot of Battle of the Sexes. Be familiar in each. I think as operators, learn the wheels. Learn the wheels, learn the wheels, learn the wheels. For every day you spend in the Steadicam, learn the wheels. They are going to make or break you at the time you do not want. My first wheel shot was on my first like big movie. I was super excited. And the DP told me, he goes, it's gonna happen. You're gonna need to do the wheels. So every night I took the gear head home, and I was like staying in this apartment, which was like 3 floors up with like no elevator. So it was like every night lugging in gear head all the way up the stairs, all the way back down, because I couldn't leave it. Cause God forbid, next day they're like, oh, where's the gear head? I'm like, oh, I left it in the apartment. It finally came down to the moment of that movie where I had to do my first gear head shot. And it was a stunt. So, the DP took A camera took B camera. Me, I was B cam. I took C camera. I got the longest lens and a gearhead. It was horrible. And the car, it was a stunt. So I was profile with it. So I've got a track on 150 millimeter or something, just the worst circumstance you could want for your first gearhead shot. And I have to go and tilt up with this car as it flips and smack back down. We got one. Boy. That's why you got to practice. I mean, I think I got it. He did say, I think it was in the trailer and everything, but he was like, yeah, it was the only take that worked 100% through and through. But learn the wheels, learn the wheels, learn the wheels, learn the wheels. I mean, they are going to make or break you at the moment. And I'll tell you from La La Land, this is interesting. The most painful shot of all of it was the observatory one, when they're both dancing out on that. That was that one we only had 3 takes a day. I pulled every muscle in my shoulder and back. I went to my masseuse and I was like, and he said, what did you do? I did a wheel shot, because the stress of being in that moment and doing it. And that's one of those things. I should have worked out more. I should have worked that sensation in, but practice, 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 practice wheels. Oh God, practice wheels. I'm actually doing wheels right now. You guys can't see them, but I actually have wheels right now. No, practice them as much as you can. Joysticks, if you like them, go for it. But you got to be ready for anything. I mean, they're going to throw everything at you. You should be able to do it. That's the responsibility we have as operators. That's why I think I get calls, not because I can put a circle in a square, but because it's being true to that moment, whatever that moment may be.
Thanks for your answer, Ari. And thank you, Jess, for letting me borrow your geared head during quarantine so I could practice the wheels.
There you go.
Yeah, he's actually been doing really good.
That's the key, man. That's going to save you in places you'll never know.
Absolutely.
Chris, at this time, do you have one from the audience for us?
Yes, so this question is for both Ari and Jess. What benefits do you see of joining the SOC?
Leave that one to you, eh?
I mean, SOC is an organization for camera operators and camera community in general. Anybody that's an enthusiast, anybody that's active in the camera department, from ACs to operators to DPs, you can join as associates. If you have 5 years or more of work history, and I believe some letters of recommendation and maybe a sponsorship referral, You can join as an active member of SOC, where you get the initials after your name, SOC, which stands for Society of Camera Operators. It's not ASC, which is American Cinematographer Society. It's a different organization in general. But this one is there to, you know, recognize the efforts of the story creator behind the camera, holding, you know, the camera. We see it first is the slogan. So it's a good place to learn, be a part of events, and to grow your own network, and to let people know you exist, and, you know, volunteer, give back. And yeah, it's definitely been crucial in our careers. I got my letters, and eventually Ari got his. Ari?
Actually, Jess isn't saying, I'm actually only SOC because of her. A lot of people don't know that. The only reason I became SOC, because she would, you know, hey, you should really do this. It's a great resource. It's a great opportunity. And I was like, yeah. And I think eventually you just like sent me the thing. You're like, dude, all you got to do is sign this. And I can say it is helpful. It's an organization that will be growing and offering more, but the involvement is always good. If you think it can help you, then it probably will. If it's a efficient thing that you can do and the money doesn't bother you, go for it. You know, you can never lose by learning. Right. Knowledge is power.
Yeah, and there's a good membership for students, and there's the associate membership is cheaper than an active membership, so it's pretty affordable to join, and it's pretty beneficial. And they're doing a lot of online stuff right now. SOC.org, if you guys want to join that. It's not sponsored or anything with SteadiSchool, but, you know, we're all interrelated. We're all connected. We're all part of the communities. You know, Chris here with Learn Filmmaking, she volunteered and worked some SOC events. She's been a member of SOC. You know, we're all part of it. I know our students are getting involved. Everybody should check it out. And we have members all over the world.
It's a good resource for us, and there's not enough. So, you know, take use of anyone that is. And mentorship, I think, is a really big thing that they do provide, which is very important as well.
Thank you for answering, and thank you, Kyle and Mason, for the question.
So I've got one. I'm going to do two in a row, actually, from the audience. What is the mistake you feel you learned the most from?
That's a very good question.
This is from Austin Staton. Thank you for the question.
The mistake I've learned the most from. Well, all right. I guess I'm going to have to do this. So these right here, this is for every time I drop a camera. And yes, I'm owed more. I'll get them tattooed. I'm working on it. These are for everyone that I catch. And each one of these moments are the moments I've learned the most from. And that's why I did them. And I got them when I was like 24, when I was like kind of a cool, you know, whatever kid. What I got tired of as a 24-year-old with 4 years of experience, this is a much different business than it is now. I wanted to be honest and accountable for my errors, because to me, that was about living true to them and saying, yes, I understand why I'm here, what I'm doing, and what that's for. So every one of these mistakes, I wanted, when I first went to shake your hand, I wanted them to be what was there. And these are the ones that I've learned the most from. Now, not all of it, you know, things change. And like I said, I am owed more. One was dropping a rig, you know, one was rushing, you know, trying to be the best young, great operator, and then just totally mucking it up. And now the other one was Mother Nature. Don't fuck with Mother Nature. She wins. She gonna beat you up. There ain't no way around her. You know, we were all sitting on a mountain watching a snowstorm come in, and we were like, nah, we'll be fine. And then, no, we weren't. I mean, it's a snowstorm. What did you expect? Everything got crushed. But we were, we want to make this shot. We want to make it happen. So when you make those mistakes, when they come up, you're probably going to beat yourself up over it. They're all really, really important experiences. When you fall, love it. I mean, obviously bleeding and things and all the pain that comes of it's not so wonderful, but love it. So everything that you do is an error. Should be a way for you to learn. I can't tell you how many times I drove home from my first sets literally crying and saying, I'm not going to good enough to do this. I'll never be good enough to do this. This is so wrong. I think the first big mistake I realized is I tried to go through a doorway. And if I made my first step like this with my foot at that angle versus straight, I would have completed the shot. Ah, sorry. And I didn't. And that was the mistake I made. And that's what I learned. But value your mistakes, value your errors. Falling is the greatest thing that can happen to you. Hurting yourself, failing a shot, all of those things. But
yeah, when I fell, I got over the fear of falling. So it actually helped me concentrate more on the shot. It's like, all right, I already know what it feels like to fall in this thing. I already know how to try and make a decision in like a quarter of a second to try and save whatever I have. It's all about reaction and reflexes to try and catch anything. But, you know, sometimes it's, we say in the motorcycle world, it's not if, it's when. And I think it applies the same for any camera operators. You're going to go down. Just, you know, once you do, learn from it, understand how to prevent it, and, you know, just, and try to recover, of course, take care of your body.
that's it. So, you know, don't let yourself get too far ahead. You know, mistakes are going to happen. They will. You will mess up, period. Enjoy it. Love it. It's probably going to be the thing that defines you and makes you better if you allow it to be so. So
I will say, having fallen, everybody should always walk the shot before you do the shot.
Yeah.
That will stop you from falling.
Yeah, follow when you're going through, check everything and learn how to check everything. Learn how to look at circumstances. See what could or couldn't be. And if you're worried about it and it doesn't feel safe, adjust. That was this one. That was me almost putting a 85 millimeter. We were at 85 millimeter on a 435 at full speed run. And I was about a half second from taking that entire body and smashing it into the small, like the lower back of a size 0 actress. Like, you talk about little teeny waist and this thing. And I had asked them to do something safe and they didn't. They did not listen. And the choice came down midair. I mean, I was literally like midair, like, oh shit. And in that split second, I took the rig back to my face and hit the ground. And it was saving her versus me, but safety, checking and knowing first, which was funny. 7 years later, I actually saw the gal again, and she was a friend of mine's wife. They got 2 kids now. Things are going very well. You know, could have been a totally different moment. So always, always consider that. As an operator and as a Steadicam operator, your biggest thing should always be understanding the responsibility you've been given. That's the thing. Being true to I mean, people may have put thousands of hours, dreams, their whole dreams into it. And you're going to get to set and it's going to be in your hands. Be responsible. Just be responsible and respectful of that feeling. And I think you'll always do okay.
And that goes for everyone in any position in any department, but definitely in the camera department, and not just operators either. You know, it's the ACs and even our grips, you know, especially the dolly grip. Big part of, they should just be called camera grips because that's what they are. Camera grips.
Even more great advice. Thank you for it. What part do you feel communication plays in your job? I'm going to show a clip that a lot of us have seen before, but what brought you guys to communicating in this style during this clip? You know, like, did Damien think this up? Was this your recommendation? The taps on the shoulder.
You know, that was just something that Damien and I got kind of used to. You know, Damien he's so, it was like when you first met Damien, he could already watch the entire movie in his head. I mean, this is a person who understood every nanosecond of his film, really, really understood moment to moment what it is. And that's the thing, is that things adjust, you know, like, you know, we had, like, I got the music maybe 3 months before, and by the time we get to the shooting day, I mean, it always have some adjustments. But that was the thing, is that Damien was so aware of the value of each frame, each 24 frames in a second, he knew. So that was a great way for us to do it. You know, I just goes like, I like when you tap me. That just works for me. And a little scorpion snap. We just developed that through doing it. Because sometimes there are things I might say, oh, well, this is the cue for me to go. But I also have to understand my speed, the relative target, the lens. Like, there's so many things going on. Damien's just, if we all get good at that, Damien's like 90 leagues above us. I mean, the dude's just a genius. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, he would tap me and he'd go, oh, I'm late on that one. And I'm like, I have no idea if you are or aren't. But that was just the relationship that worked best for us. That was just how it was. I mean, he would have accommodated if I said, hey, this is better, this is worse. It's just the fun. I mean, I kind of always miss him, like kind of having those little cues on my thing. And we would, maneuver around. There was a lot of times where we were hand in hand moving through things. So it's just communication. You have to be adjustable in that. Communication is not going to be the same for every team. You're going to talk to one director one day and they're going to go, oh, I get you. And then you'll say the exact same thing to another director the next day and he'll go, and that's what's crazy about it, is that it's always going to adjust. It's always going to be different. I can't tell you how many times I've said something to someone and I'm like, oh my God, I sound like a total idiot. They have no idea. I don't even know what I mean. But yesterday that worked, or tomorrow it will. So communicating and as a person, as a whole, I mean, you wouldn't go to a doctor and talk to him like he was a mechanic and vice versa. You just wouldn't, So understanding how you affect that and what you bring to the table in that way. And sometimes less is more and sometimes more is less. Sometimes you have to. You just got to know it's always going to change. Go with the flow. See what they like. See what your DP likes. See what your director's like. I can't tell you how many times operators have told me, like, that dude's never going to call me again. And I'm like, well, yeah, that guy doesn't like to talk about that stuff. He doesn't want to sit there and be like, did you like the headroom and then the tilt factor? Like he's like, yeah, I don't, please go back and do the shot. So understand it's always going to be different. Figure out how you can be most effective in that and learn to understand what is important to you. If you're having a 10-minute conversation about something that really doesn't matter for the shot and they don't care, why are you wasting your own time? If you know that's going to be a thing, say it, get to it. And if you know that even saying it might not be worth it, don't. But understanding that and understanding that as much as you can, practicing that, listening, not talking, doing this, all part of it.
Everything you're saying is based on, leadership and the responsibility that you agree to by stepping into that position. You are on the front lines. People are coming to you for answers. People want your knowledge and experience to help keep the flow and the time. And, everybody wants to go home. And when no one's, ready to put out fires or have solutions, then, you stay longer. So it's our responsibility to be the leader of the department and just, suck it up and get everybody home safely.
It's so key. I mean, you as communication interplays between each department and each thing, just think about how you can do it most efficiently. Think about what's the most important and think about who you're speaking to.
And when you're younger in your career, you really don't realize how important this all is, but it is. And sadly, it's taken me a little bit longer to understand how it all works, but I hope the younger generation understands it's a little bit sooner for a little bit more ease climbing up the ladder.
Yeah, I mean, look, I will tell you the thing that I'm probably going to have to work on no matter what continuously is communication. I mean, even this year and the year before, I mean, that's always the battle. That's always going to be the thing. And that's human to human. I mean, that's part of the job. That is going to be as important as to the gear you have, your ability to frame, whether you're good at doing something or not. Just know it's always going to be an issue. I mean, last year, and I'm not going to say names, but I had a really fun day with a big director who flat out just like blew up on me. And it was just because we were just seeing things a little different. And then as soon as we had that moment, we were both on the same page. He was like, oh yeah, that's cool, thanks. Like it just ended, like the whole problem just ended. And it was like, high five, move on. But that's the thing, is like the take before, I had no idea. So like the guy comes out and starts yelling, like it's always gonna be there. There's never a time when you're gonna say, oh, I'm good. And if there ever is that time, please leave, because when you're not learning and you're not growing, you're not being the best you can. So it'll always be an issue. Always work on it.
That's great. Yeah, very much so. Jessica, do you have a more specific question for Ari at this time? Looks like you're looking one up right now.
Yeah,
Trying to do
because
the same.
sadly, we've actually answered so many questions all in one. I'm just like, wow. Actually, let's pass it to the audience right now while I look for something that we haven't already answered.
So James Marin asked, other than going from high mode to low mode very quickly, what other possibilities has the Trinity opened up for you in your operating?
That's a great question. It is the high to low mode. That is a huge thing. I like to call it javelin mode when you're straight out, you know, and you're like just, you know, spearing through things. It's not so much that it's just utilizing the tool. Like you would say, well, a dolly could be used like this, or a crane gets used like this. The Trinity, it just has more range on certain specifics. There are drawbacks to what that, it does do some things very well, and there's other things that are a lot more challenging. It's a tool where you'll find ways to where it excels. You'll find ways to where it doesn't. But knowing and understanding it, you'll know, hey, this could do a little bit more. I like to look at it as if I can achieve something more powerful because of it, then I'm using it, period. And to me, it's almost never about the high to low mode. I actually don't even think about it in that range. I think about it as, well, where's the story? Where's this going to be? What's going to be best to do that with? And that's the thing about the Trinity, is it does give you a little bit more physical range and more options. This one, this is pretty good. This is just normal Steadicam. That's like a Steadicam walk. There's no high to low mode. However, it's a silent gyro. And when you're doing dialogue in a very windy place and you need to have gyros for stabilization, but you can't, it's a great tool for that. And that's not high to low mode at all. This was just something where we could have done that with an offset, but I wanted to have height. This was on a process trailer we wanted to be able to push in. I mean, this was in a standard mode. I never really went high or low. Same thing, just needed to get further, rolls. The thing is that the Trinity, I mean, there you go. You can be in one physical place in order to get that. It's not necessarily about thinking of the high to low. It's thinking about, this thing can do this. How can I utilize it in a way to tell the story? And that's the thing, is that I don't think any tool is full-time. There is no tool that's perfect for everything. I do have times where I do just want to use the Trinity. I always enjoy this little shot. It's just, there are times when the comfort and stability of a Steadicam is going to be better for me. It's just knowing what's great and knowing what's in your heart. There's a fun story about what happened there, but that's when I was calling the Trinity the face slasher for a little while. That's the thing, is that the Trinity is great. I could utilize it all day, every day if I wanted to. It's such a wonderful tool, but it's not the tool that works perfect for me every time, and that's why I don't. Otherwise, there's no reason. And the Trinity can be used as a normal Steadicam. You don't have to go high to low mode. It's where the sensitivity for me feels best. So.
Someone else had a question about the joystick, and how long did it take for you to get used to using it?
Oh, I'm so not even used to it still. I've got it for a few years. It still bothers me. It's really weird. Like, that little joystick is it's a little difficult. I was actually going to go out and get it from the garage. I was going to show everyone. I took a PlayStation controller and pulled out the little thumbstick, and we shaved it down. So I had this cool little thumb joystick. I think they probably sell the part now, but this is what you do when you're sitting on set. That really helped. That made it a lot easier because I was able to feather more. And I've had a lot of people ask questions about, how do you work that? Which finger, which hand? You should be able to use every finger, every piece, every part needs to be ready to do what it's going to take, because it is. A lot of people don't know about the Trinity is that it does have the opportunity to connect to wheels. So you can connect it to a wheel to be able to do tilt. And that can be life-saving, life-saving. And sometimes very irritating too. You're like, I love this shot. And the DP's like, I like this headroom. Mother, God, all right, fine. But it is a thing. It does have that. And I think if you are going to utilize a Trinity, and that is going to be your staple rig, like that's the one you're going to, I would consider having the wheel option, because there are going to be shots where my favorite shot in La La Land is happening behind Jess's head. Yeah, that's my favorite one. That was the one that I cried during it, like literally crying during a take. It's the weirdest feeling. It's, you know what? That's one of the biggest joys of being operator. And everyone here will know it. When you pull your eye out of the eyepiece, you're like, that was pretty good, guys. It's one of the best feelings in the world. But yes, the Trinity, utilizing the wheels, good thing to do, having it as an option, understanding the difficulty, rebuilding that bracket. That's the thing about all of our tools. They come great, and that's how they should be. Customize everything to you. Make it all yours. There's no reason anything shouldn't be but what you need to do your job. I mean, if it's whatever that takes, just do it.
That's great. Thanks for sticking with us, everybody. I know we've been in here a while, and we're going to keep going, answering more questions. Jess, I feel like you have one prepared at this time.
I do. Also, to let anybody know, if you've joined late, we will have this whole webinar, on our YouTube page later on tonight. So for any replays. My question, Ari, is what is the most challenging setup and shot you've ever done? And I feel like you're gonna say La La Land, but it could be something else.
No, probably not. La La Land was surprisingly very easy. And I know that sounds ridiculous because there's some pretty complex shots in there, but we were well rehearsed with an amazing team with all the thoughts. And I mean, we had everything. The dreams you could always want for everything. Yes. I don't know if that would say like the hardest shots, because for me, the hardest shot in that was actually the wheels, but that's a
the crane was actually easy. The crane shot.
Oh, we can't show it, but in the movie and we showed a clip of it where I go up on a crane. That was actually a double crane shot. There's a first half of that move, which was me starting on another crane, coming down, going a flight of stairs, running across a whole like apartment complex, and then getting onto that crane. And that one wasn't that hard either. I think I showed you that video, and at the end of it, like right when we cut, I was like, they're gonna have to start challenging us more. We're gonna need more cranes. When you have rehearsals and things like that, these things become very simple, very simple.
And film played a part too, right? So being on film, you would actually, make sure you're not wasting film by making sure.
Well, that's the other thing. Yeah, you're not gonna sit in the rig for 30 minutes and then they're like, and go. Which was nice. But you know what? I was watching one of the videos and I was sitting on this crane with like a 1-foot platform, one-handed with this like giant rig for like 4 minutes. I was like, oh my God, I was just waiting there for 4 minutes before we shot. I didn't even notice. But yes, those things, the weight and things are different. I don't know if there was one that was like, what would be the hardest shot or the biggest setup? I've done 65, 35, zoom lenses, short lenses. Honestly, it's all going to change. You never know what's going to be the hardest thing. I mean, someone might give you like literally a teeny lens and a little body, and then they give you this most ultra delicate shot to do. And so it can change. Actually, this shot right here was the only one we didn't rehearse. And this was our hardest shot. It took us 44 takes to do it. It was the only piece. This was the only part of the day where we were like, holy moly, we didn't just blast through these like they were nothing. This was the most stressful day, actually, funny enough. And it's not even a very big shot. It's not nearly as complex as some of these others, but it was the most difficult because of the rehearsal. And the snap down in the beginning of the shot, I probably screwed up 30 times. I mean, it was just the hardest thing to just whip and get. Chris Summers in here. Chris Summers, I want to say hello to you. This was a very challenging shot. Actually, there was a fun moment where Damien, I think, thought we weren't going to get it and it wasn't going to work. And some of the tech things that we had prepped and rehearsed, we were told were very possible, weren't. So there was like challenges that immediately came up that we couldn't do it. Because it's too many cranes in that day. You just keep blasting through. You keep that energy. You keep that vibe and go for it. But I don't know. They're all going to be really hard. They're all going to be really hard and they're all going to be really easy. The thing is, it's how you mentally take them, ultimately. And if you can do that, sometimes even if you're lying to yourself, think about the team. Think about the director and the producer and the AD who know how difficult this is. And when you come in and you go, oh my God, this is so difficult, you're only going to make it worse. Sometimes the best thing that goes, it's a piece of cake. Let's have this done by lunch. You got to think like that sometimes. So good luck.
Thank you.
Chris, do you have another one from the audience for us?
Yes. So this one is from Ryan Grosjean. If you could advise your younger self, what is something you wish you knew earlier in your career?
Oh boy. Oh, where to begin? um, Shut up. That's what I would have told myself to do. Honestly, just shut up more. Just really, just listen, be attentive, be considerate, be all the things you really hope and intend to be. I probably would have done a lot of that. I probably would have made more investments with gear, with things and opportunities. Luckily, I eventually got there in my own life and figured that out. But yeah, as you're starting to go, always keep your eye ahead. Always understand what's coming. Always see things. Like you're talking about, like how do we, how do I get myself out there more? How do I grow my business? Knock on doors. Just keep pushing. If I had done that earlier, I don't know where I would have been. I mean, I'm not regretful, but really just keep going, keep applying, keep putting yourself out there, learn more things, have more experiences. Yeah, that's probably about it. Maybe like, eat better, don't smoke too much, don't drink too much, do more yoga.
Yoga, for sure. Yoga will save you.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many things, but learn, just open yourself up to more, just really dive in. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I go, like just the other day, someone was talking about a tool and it's, I'm talking with like this massive director and this massive DP and like this owner of something. And I'm like, oh, I don't know what that is. Ooh, and that's the thing is always more. Just put yourself out there as much as you can.
That's great. Merlin, do you want to pick one from the audience for us?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a few here. I'm going to combine a couple different people's questions. We had a couple Steadicam operators ask that have a background in television and live TV. Do you have any experience with TV? And if so, how do you change your mentality when approaching narrative from something live or episodic?
Well, episodic and live are very different. I don't love live stuff. It's not my favorite. It just isn't, I don't like that tone of, like, I like the live experience, but I don't like the way it's kind of done. I think there's operators who are doing things in there that blow my mind that I'm like, I don't even know how they did that. It's just an enjoyment. It's just a different thing. You're always going to know you're always going to need to focus on the fundamentals of what we do. And you're always going to need to focus on the story. And when live, there's a different sense of story, but understanding what storytelling is, it's all going to be the same. Every day takes a different approach. It doesn't matter what you're shooting, what you're doing. So, try to use what you know to help guide you in each thing, I suppose. I'm like so not a live shooter.
That's great.
It's hard. It's so difficult.
It's a different type of storytelling, and so you have to adjust your mentality going into it. And gaining experience in each realm helps you to know how to navigate the different types of personalities and the different goals that are accomplished in each world.
And in that, I think what you're saying is absolutely correct, in that you should have that experience. You should allow yourself to have those experiences in order to kind of grow further. But yeah, I mean, it's another boat.
Sarah May, do you perchance have one from the audience to ask?
I do. A lot of people are wondering, when you first start out, how do you gauge how you price yourself and your gear?
Oof, that's a very good question. That's really, it's a question that plagues all of us all around the world and is always adjusting. And I've gotten a lot of shit for it over the years, I'll be honest. I've had some good moments where it's been fun and some moments where people have been a little unhappy. I ultimately don't feel comfortable telling anybody what they should or shouldn't do when it comes to those things, because here's what I really believe. If you feel comfortable and safe with the decision that you're making, it's probably going to be okay. There are regulations and things to make sure that we don't abuse ourselves, but ultimately you have to do what feels right for you. And if, when you're making those choices, you are considering the greater industry and the team and everybody out there, that's all that anyone can ask you. None of us really know the circumstances of someone else. I should, you know, if you needed money to, you know, to save a life, how should I be able to dictate you what you should or shouldn't do? And I no longer believe in what is or what isn't. The truth is that if you're taking a job for $100 a day, trust me, you're not going to affect the way a $200 million movie makes their judgment call on prices. It's just not even in the same league. So make sure you feel right. If you're feeling abused and you're uncomfortable with it, that's the issue. If other people are and other that, communicate with them, talk to them, but you have to figure it out in your heart. And I think, and I've gone through a lot of abuses myself, both in what could happen, what can, how people observe that and what they take. And the truth is sometimes it is wrong, sometimes it's right. Answer to your heart, do what you think is best, and value yourself truly, you know thyself. I mean, really is an important thing to say. If you really think you're worth $10,000 a day, I'm not going to tell you you're not. But if you only think of yourself as worth $10 a day, then that's all you're going to be. So you really have to understand that. And I do think the personal valuation, if you can come to set and do a quality shot the same as Jessica or me, then you should be at the same rate, if you believe so. And you should determine that in your own. But do it feels right for you. There's so many operators and things and gear and stuff where everybody wants to tell you what to do, and just tell us to shut up. Just, you know, live your life.
Yeah, and to segue on that, just be careful going into communities where you're seeking validation from others. It can really do a number on your mentality when you're trying to, you know, just really do your job and just be at peace. When you're, you know, we all have that little bit of imposter syndrome. Yes, we all feel like we might not be worthy or capable, but in the end, you really do have to have just confidence and know that you've worked your ass off to be there and to do a good job, and just focus on doing your job, not what that other person's saying.
Not what the rate should or shouldn't be, or the price is too low, or, you know, and I'll be honest, the jobs that I did for the littlest amount that I thought meant nothing ended up really being the ones that brought me to that next level. It was the jobs where I was like, they're going to pay me this much to do what? Oh, I'm going to be so big after it. Didn't mean shit. So that's what I mean. You have to value it at really what you see. And I'll be dead honest. The lowest budget jobs I did were the ones that got me to where I needed to be. So always consider that. Your comfort first, your consideration of everything else. The rest is up to you. And anyone who doesn't value you doing that probably doesn't stand for you.
That's great. Chris, you have one from the audience for us?
I have one, and pardon me if I don't pronounce this right, Elijah Javran. How are you staying creatively stimulated during this quarantine?
I'm just annoying my cats a lot. No, you know, there's always kind of things. I don't necessarily, you know, feel the oomph that I need to go out and create. For me, it's a little bit more like, holy moly, I get time off. I get to relax. Hell yeah. Anything can be. You know, I've had a lot of people over the years ask, you know, how do I get into filmmaking? How do I do that? What do I gotta, you know, practice this, learn that? And if you want to be creative and do things, just pop on your phone and go outside and start shooting things. I mean, that's the reality of it. The influence can come from anywhere. I mean, it could be anything. I'm actually getting into like cactus and succulents and planting and stuff like that. And that to me is pretty fun. You know, that's what creatively keeps me going. And that's what it is. And you should be doing that no matter what. Even if you're booked and you've got every job and you've got the things that are all working and you're like, I'm going to go buy the fancy car, whatever, you still got to be putting back in. You got to refill that tank. A lot of our job is putting it out there for others. Make sure you bring it back in. It's a little like heady and like a little, but you know, you guys know what I mean.
No, it's great. We all needed the things that keep us moving forward in our downtime. And this is a very unique moment in history, and that's good advice. Just find what you love and do it. I'm curious, did you have any mentors? I know that I had educators that really influenced my life and career in the beginning. Was there someone in particular that helped you out?
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of people over the years in different facets. And I think the thing about a Steadicam career, and maybe different for each one of our job positions, is that you know, you're going to have, you know, it's not just operating. It's not just putting the circle in the square, as I always like to say. It's not just pan, tilt, invoice. All of those things are going to be important. Mentors are going to come from different things. I mean, I have my dad, my brother, my mom, all the family and things like that. And then mentors don't always have to be someone above you. That's one of the things that a mentor should be everywhere in your life. You should have range. You should have peers. You should have mentors. I kind of had a few, but like, I mean, you know, believe it or not, and many wouldn't, like Jessica has been around my career for almost as long as it's gone on. I've had friends who aren't Steadicam people. I mean, like I said earlier, you know, she's the reason I was in SOC. You know, she would assist me in ways that others might not have by being a mentor and being supportive. So that's the thing, is that a mentor doesn't necessarily have to be dictated on that specific relationship. It can be anything, and you should find ways to do that. Like, I think just for us, we always felt like we were kind of going through the shit together. And that was kind of how we were mentors for each other. You know, like, oh man, I went through that.
I would call you on the phone crying after some job where, you know, my safety was jeopardized and I didn't know what to do. And I think ultimately either I walked away or got fired because, you know, I was just so young, I didn't know how to handle it. And
that's the thing. I did the same to you. I mean, we've had those things. And that's what I'm saying, is that a mentorship can be a mutual thing. It's very hard to find someone who's like, hey, I want to like go out and, you know, spend all this time helping someone like that. You need someone on your team. You should also have like a, you know, like a coach. I mean, one of the guys that I knew, you know, the first thing one of the things he did, he was like, you got to take this job. You got to fly to New York. You got to take this job right now. You have to do it. Okay, I'll do it. I just said yes. And then I did it. And then he called me and goes, why'd you do it for that rate? What the hell were you doing? You shouldn't have done that. I said, I just did what you told me. And that's the thing, is that, you know, it just is what it is. Find people who support you. Find people who believe in you. Find people who see you for the skill and the quality you have. I mean, that's probably what's been our relationship from the beginning. I mean, I've got Steadicam operators who are like that. I've got friends who are like that. Find those people, listen to them, and use the tools. You know, life lessons can be just as practical in the Steadicam world as it could vice versa. So.
But to reiterate on finding those people, as someone that's looked for people and as someone that's been looked for, there's a fine line of privacy. There's a fine line of, you know, my time, you know, like, you don't know what the person's going through when you are asking them for help. So you are going to need to have a little bit of patience and understanding, and not be, have your feelings hurt when people don't respond back to you. That's been my thing as someone in this industry, especially with a large social media following, is like, how am I able to help people multiply? Because literally my privacy is being invaded and people want to hear what I have to say, but I want to do it in a respectful way as possible, you know, and I'm sure that happens to you. And I know it happens to the people that have been my mentors. You know, it's like you catch them at the right time. Someone might have time to respond and really be helpful. You catch them at the wrong time, you might just need to wait another week or two and respond again. It's like where patience and persistence meet, you know, your dreams and who you think can help guide you.
Careful to be asking what you really want from your mentor. Be honest in what that is to you too, because that's the other thing, is that what are you utilizing that person for, truly? And that's one of those things that I think is kind of what you're touching on, is you do have to understand those circumstances in that relationship. A mentor can only be as good as you allow them to be, and only as much as they really can. So don't push too hard on some of those. Sometimes they aren't worth it. You know, sometimes the biggest power can be your own.
Yeah, that's why we created SteadiSchool. We're trying to help. We're here right now. Everybody, enjoy.
Merlin, do you have another one from the audience? We're gonna thank you for sticking with us, everybody. We're gonna do another round throughout our panelists and finish up in the next couple of minutes. But thank you for all your questions and for sticking with us. Obviously, we're not going to get to all of them. We have more than 100 questions remaining, but we're going to answer a couple more before we head out.
If there's also a thing too, and I know you guys organize it, you know, whatever. I think Jesse, you've sent me questions. You know, you guys, as you guys know, let me know. I'll do what I can. Typey. But yes, go ahead. What was anything?
Merlin, yeah, you got one? And thank you.
Sure, absolutely. I've got one from a SteadiSchool member, Taylor Hill. She's great. She asks, what is your relationship with the first and second ACs, and what do you look for in a camera assistant?
That's a very good question. They're all different relationships. I mean, they're all different people. They all have different methods. I don't really always get to choose who I get to work with, and you will find that you may not. That changes. Some DPs are like, that's my guy. That's who I'm using. I'm using her. She's my AC, and I'm not using anyone else. And you may say, I don't know this person. I'm gonna have to go spend 6 months with this new human. Okay, great. So you won't always get to choose. Very rarely do you. I would say don't choose in a certain way, because opening yourself up to different methods is a positive way of learning versatility. So it is good to sometimes try learning, new ways and new things. It's a relationship though. I mean, you guys are gonna be one brain, one way or the other. You guys are gonna have to think in tune. I think what's important with the first AC though is to understand that you're both mom and dad in the circumstance. Everybody's got to have to, everybody's a parent to that camera, which means you'll have to do things that you may not agree with. Well, I don't normally do that way, but this helps them. And it is that give and take relationship, and you do have to be very considerate of that. When you stimulate that relationship, when that person feels like they are part of this and part of going, you will get better results. And I always say it very simply, if you screw your AC over in a shot and then you've got to do 9 more takes because of it, well, now you're going to wear it 9 more times. If you would have helped them at take 1, you're not going to wear it as much. So it's that kind of thing. I like to think of it in that regard too, is that laziness is the mother of all invention. If an AC says, hey, I really need to rig this right here to be able to do the shot, and you say no, there's your 9 more takes. There's you being more tired. There's you making the director like, well, who is this person? This person's not that good. So consider that give and take. And ultimately, sometimes they will be the reason you actually get it done and look like you know what you're doing and can do the shot. I mean, I can't tell you how many times it is the AC that made that shot possible. It is being able to work with that AC that allowed it to even be accomplished. And I always like to play them like that. It's their world. I just touch the thing. Like I do a little of this and that's it. And I think that's easier because that is their major responsibility. I mean, I probably get a little silly sometimes, but just be considerate of that. Know that your AC has now one of the hardest jobs on set. I mean, that shit is, I don't know how, I think they're all like wizards and like they do voodoo and like stuff like that. Like, I don't even know how they do what they do. I mean, it's incredibly difficult. So as a Steadicam operator, be considerate, be helpful with them. Let them know that you're there for them and maybe treat them like the boss.
Great answer. Thank you, Ari.
They will get you work. They're going to be the ones who really get you hired. Dead serious. The DP might say, hey, who should we use for this job? And if that AC loves you, they're going to be like, call that person. I mean, it's so true how much understanding that, they are the key.
Great answer.
I love all you ACs. Please hire me. No, what? Huh?
Sarah May, could you possibly ask another one from the audience?
Sure. Zachariah was wondering, for those who don't have a Steadicam but would like to practice, how do you go about practicing training your body for that?
That's a good question. It's not always simple to get one. It really isn't. There's not always easy. I would say for anyone, I mean, Jess is showing exactly what it is right there. That's the cheapest Steadicam you'll ever get. And that's the best way to start. Yep. Hey, look, see, Merlin's got one as well. Everybody should have one of those. It's the simplest, easy way. Anything, like I said, glass of wine, stuff like that. Physical, I mean, no exercise is going to harm you. A lot of people will do power vests. They'll get those like vests, those like exercise vests where you just put weights in it and then just go, muscle around. It's a good thing to do. I mean, find ways, find ways to do it. It's difficult. But I would also say for anyone, and in LA, it might be a different thing. There's a lot of rigs and a lot of availability here. Just go find out what's there. If you live in a smaller city in a harder country, there's got to be someone around there. And if you don't know that person, you'll never know. So look out into your communities, see, and be creative, be inventive.
It's great.
I love that little pause for a moment. I'm always like, I'm just talking to a room. Sorry.
A room full of people, though, who are very grateful for your time.
It's an honor. I really appreciate it. I'm amazed to get these things. I mean, this is what, to me, becoming a Steadicam operator was really about, the giving back and the responsibility of doing so.
It's great. Chris, if you could maybe pluck one from the audience for us.
Perfect. So this one is from Daisy Gomez. To what level are you allowed to make creative decisions with your shots?
You know, there's a lot of people ask that, and I think when they're starting Steadicam, they're wondering, they want to understand how the operator may choose. You know, what is our role in deciding the frame, the thing that we're going to see on the screen? It's going to vary every job. Some directors will want you to do that. Some directors will be like, don't you ever think again. And that's just going to adjust in how it goes. I think the best thing you can do is ask yourself always, are you trying to make an adjustment because you believe it should be, or because you want to make an adjustment to heighten what they want? And that's a really good point to come from. We don't make decisions. That's not our job. We're not a director. We're not a director of photography. No one's like, you know, saying, oh, what did you think? What would you? That's not what we do. What we do is we assist in helping people create those dreams, which might mean when somebody's like telling you what to, like, the shot's going to be, and you're like, yeah, that's very cool. Is it helpful? Is it possible that if I came here, I'd maximize what you're seeing in this area? That's how you help. You heighten their story. You assist in getting it better. And you're considerate of the physical nature of what it takes to actually tell their story. But we don't make creative decisions. You might make an error that in turn, like, you know, something will happen that's better. And the Justin Timberlake video, there's a moment where the director wanted to kind of go this way, and I kind of saw it in my head. I was like, I don't know if that's really, I knew where the struggle was going to be. The technicality was going to be the issue. And I probably blew him off a little, to be honest, but I did something else. But that's why he hired me, for that subtle difference. Not because I was like, yeah, you should do this. No, we don't do that. Don't ever assume that you will. And if a director gives you that, be very, very humbled and thankful for it, because it's incredibly rare. You work your talents. You work what you know to assist. I mean, that's your responsibility. It's just varied. Communication. I mean, hey. Yeah, it really boils down to that. Figure out what that is, the relationship you have with them.
Great. Thank you. I'm going to try and find another one. Pardon my...
Love you, Alessa.
So, you know what? As you say that, actually, we have a guest with us that has been a friend. I think that in the mentor conversation, I think that you guys all know who this is, right? Ari and Jess?
Oh, yeah. Wait a minute. I see a lot of very familiar faces in there.
Definitely.
Oh, wait, who's coming in? Who's this? I'm all excited. Ooh, no, who's this?
Matt, that was the wrong picture.
Oh, was it?
I was going to say, is it Rara's here? Oh, what? Mitch?
Yeah, right? No, I think they're all tuned in though, Mitchie.
Oh, wait, hello to everyone. There's so many great people from so many great years. It's so cool to see everyone.
That's
you know, while we've set that up, Ari, question, how'd you learn about the Steadicam? Because you're like me, we kind of started a little bit different, where we didn't go through the full camera channels from utility to loader, which isn't really recommended, but you know, you kind of do what you got to do to get where you need to be, and you have to learn twice as much, I think, by going that route. So I was just wondering, how did you actually get started?
You know, I have an older brother who's a cinematographer. He lives in New York, and you know, he's 3 years older. You know, at least I had the one person, because I never went to school, I never did classes, I never did any of those things. At least I had someone who I was kind of like a little muscular when I was 18. So he was like, hey, you can come and like hump sandbags for us. And I just thought I was the greatest thing in the world. Like, look at me, I'm lifting sandbags, I'm on a film set, yay. But once I kind of knew that I wanted to work in the film business, some of my like original friends who, you know, like my older brother, they're like, you should look into some of these tools. They're pretty interesting. I didn't know where I was going to land. But as soon as I saw the Steadicam, I was like, yeah, that's it. That's just it for me. I don't want to do anything else. Like that was just, I loved it. I thought it was the coolest thing. It was just for me. And when I put one on, I was like, oh, hell yes, I'm doing this. And that was it. My only 2 days as a second AC, everybody on that team said, don't ever be an AC, ever, literally. Never do another day as an AC. You're just not meant to do it. It's just so bad. So it just called to me. It was just a natural thing. And then I just put the effort in. I put faith and trust in it, faith and trust in myself. But there's no right or wrong way. There's no right or wrong method. There's no path you have to take to do it. But if you commit, truly commit. That's all I would say.
Thank you.
So
I was going to blame if Nick Franco's out there. Nick, it's still your fault that I'm doing this. Ah, there she is.
Yeah, Alessia. So this is our first intern. I remember she reached out to you, and then you reached out to me asking if I could show her around too.
This is true.
She's in the chat room.
Oh, there she is. Yeah.
I'm sure you can probably say hi to her, but we just wanted to show the fact that, you know, SteadiSchool is a great, amazing community we've built, you know, for people, Matt and I, and thank you so much for joining us. But to be honest, because of our history as friends, we always wished we had a place like this. We always wish we had, you know, a community to go to. And so that's what this is. And so we just showed that picture because she's like one of many. We have students here in this room, you know, it's like we're able to give back now that we've gotten older, now that we've got the expense. We are, you know.
And for her, and I'm sure she would say more, is, you know, she comes from a place where there just isn't a lot of Steadicam. There isn't a lot of opportunity. And it's been a challenge for her to push forward and do so. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be different for everyone. I wish everybody could have, you know, I always say I wish everybody could feel the same way I have about, you know, where I've gone and what I've done in my career. I want that for everyone, for every single person. And it's not always these areas, these environments, these things, but if you love it, you love it. You know, if it's who you are, it's who you are. Just keep pushing. You will find the happiness you want in it if that's what you're seeking. So, you know, good luck to all. And well, I think we still owe her a vest, eh?
Yeah, we do, actually. We'll have to work on that.
Yeah, right.
Hey, Matt, speaking of vests, I have a question, if I might be allowed to jump in real quick.
go for it.
Ari, I've noticed that on your Instagram, you've been using somewhat older school vest for a while, it seems. What has influenced your decision to stick with that vest, and what do you look for in it?
Comfort, to be honest. Comfort. It's the one I've spent so much time in. I know how it's going to, you know, move in those more challenging shots. I will tell you, after using it for a long time, I realized that it does create a muscle memory that, you know, can sometimes be good or bad. You know, it's good where you can rely on it, but it's bad in that your physical body will adjust to that specific thing. But it's just the one that fits for me. It's what I like. I do have 3 vests now. I have a Walter Clausen, which is the back mount, which I use for both gimbals and Steadicams. I have a Ari Artemis vest and a, what is it? The Tiffin Ultra 2 vest. I don't know what it is. That's the one of that. Every one of them are amazing. Every vest has a different thing. Obviously, I got a few now, but I never had a few. It's not like I started and had 3 vests. I mean, that would be crazy. But when you find one that works for you, stick with the one that works for you. You know, the adjustments that it needs to make you better at your job is what's the one that you should rely on. And in time, if you do feel the opportunity is presented to get another, I think it's good for your physical body to maybe swap out. Get some new muscle pains. Hurt a little differently.
Thanks for that. I just picked up an exo vest, so I'm excited for my body to change.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's great. That's the thing, is that exactly that vest works for you. It's good. But are you saving your old vest?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Even better. That's great. switch them out. It's a wonderful thing. If you have that easy shot, you know you can throw on the old one. It's good for your body. It's a good thing to do in time.
Great advice. Thank you.
Sarah May, do you want to ask one last question from the audience?
Sure. So just got a question. How much time do you spend with your DP beforehand planning the shot, kind of getting to know what his preferences are?
Sometimes you get no time. Sometimes you will get a lot. Each one's going to be different, except that's how they're all going to be. Don't pry too much. Also, don't be afraid to ask a question if you need it. Just understand that each one are going to be different. I'm not going to say which movie or what, but I had one where the day before we started shooting, literally the day before, the cinematographer said, you know, I haven't even thought about anything about the style of how we're going to do with cameras, like composition and camera work or anything. Holy shit. But that's how it worked. And he's not wrong, because he left it open to the moment, to what was experiencing. So as an operator, you're like, okay, so I'm just going to guess here until you're happy? Yes, that's what you're going to do. And that's the thing to understand, is that you have the fundamentals, you understand what you're doing, it's going to work either way. If you get a ton of time, great, use it. If you don't expect it. Be ready for anything when it comes to that. But also know your DPs. Like, do you really want to go crazy trying to work for someone you just don't really feel, you know, connected on? I mean, you know, if you're over here, you know, you're like, we don't get along, then there's maybe no reason to put so much effort into that career path with them. So consider that. And I think the reason that's important is if you are comfortable enough in that way, you might not need all that conversation. It's an inherent understanding. So look for those relationships as you choose who you're going to work with and work for.
Great, excellent.
Chris, one final question from the audience. Or are you muted? You are muted.
Got a little tiger running around by me, excuse me.
There are just so many good ones. Thank you everyone for all your questions, first of all.
Yes, thank everybody for joining us. If you've missed anything, we'll have the YouTube video up later today at our SteadiSchool page, or SteadiSchool on Instagram.
So this one, oh, go for it, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, excuse me.
This one is from Liam Berry. What is your favorite Steadicam shot that you didn't shoot? So what has inspired you?
Ones that I really dig. You know what, do they have to be Steadicam? Because I would probably go Children of Men. I mean, that movie is just, oh, the operating is just too good. Probably that. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've spent so much time kind of going through, I mean, I like The Revenant. Oh God, it's just so good. I mean, that work.
I think both those movies you mentioned are Scott Sakamoto.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, right. I mean, he's just amazing. There's some really, you know, there's just neat ones all around. I think Goodfellas to me was a really big one. Kind of seeing that, you know, that was a large moment. I don't know. I mean, you know, it's funny. I worked, did a class with Dave Comides. I'm sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. Sorry, Dave. And he has a shot from West Wing. That's just, we've all been studying it since we were like babies when it comes to it. And so to get to hear him explain it, I was like, oh God, I love this shot. I never watched the show. I've never even seen the episode it's in, but I love that damn shot. It is mind-blowingly good. And it's one of those things where you're like, yeah, that's just a shot. I can go run around on a freeway and do 6-minute wonders. And I look at his, I'm like, I have no idea how he did that. Oh my God, that's amazing. So, yeah, I mean, I'd say probably that and Goodfellas. And
To tag on to Dave Comides, I researched his Donnie Darko stuff for a hallway shot. I had to do a hallway one, and I looked up, you know, what movies took place in high schools, and I saw it was his work, and it was amazing. And I actually used that, you know, influence in my own shooting.
It's, I mean, you know, find more examples. I mean, gosh, I feel so like bad. I don't know so many great shots. I'm like, oh, I like that one movie with that guy in it. Yeah, that one. But yeah, do homework, do research, you know, find some great ones. Good luck. I don't like any of the shots I do, by the way. That's part of the whole, yeah, it's just not.
I get that, actually. So thank you all again for attending. We're so grateful to have this community support us and, you know, participate in these discussions. Our attendees are why this is so much fun for us. Your amazing, engaging questions and witty banter in the chat are bar none. Follow us on social media platforms at SteadiSchool, at Learn Filmmaking, at SteadiJew, at SteadiJess. I'm at Camera Samurai. Merlin, what's your handle?
At The Merlin Show.
And Sarah May, what's yours?
It's just my name, at Sarah May Griffin.
Great. And Chris, do you have your own private account as well?
Yeah, so it's Chris, 3 S's in the middle, and my last name, Anaid.
So again, thank you for being here. Next week, we're going to have very special guest Jeff Mulstock, SOC, and camera technician, focus puller, Bobby Mancuso. Here's a little preview of Jeff's work. He has been on shows such as Mr. Robot. He was an operator on Captain America, the First Avenger.
Incredibly talented. I want to sign up for that one.
Please do. I'm going to throw the registration link into the chat. So if you want to register in advance for our next session, please join us. Bobby Mancuso is a legend in and of himself. He worked on The Wolf of Wall Street, as well as Zoolander, and what else? I Am Legend. He's been around for a long time.
That's gonna be a great one. I'm excited for that. Such pros. Very cool.
Yeah, it'll be a heavy techno crane discussion.
Techno cranes are a really amazing tool. I mean, I think we all really love a Steadicam, but you know, once you start playing with Steadicam for a while, and then you get to play with a techno crane, you're like, forget that thing. I want to play with this all the time. How do I buy one of these? Oh wait, you can't. Okay, never mind. They're amazing tools. That's going to be a fun class. It's really neat.
Yes, we're excited, and I think Jeff might have tuned in too for our session today.
Sure.
That'll be very nice. But thank you so much, Ari, for doing this. We're so grateful, and we also all want to congratulate you, even though it's years later. But that Camera Operator of the Year award for La La Land, that was some amazing, inspiring work. So congratulations again, because that stuff's going in history.
Because I get to do this with you guys. That's the blessing from it, you know, to get to be able to help and inspire. So thank you guys. I really appreciate the opportunity, even more so in this strange and funky time. So yeah. Definitely.
I feel enlightened. I feel inspired. I know everybody else watching probably does too. And, you know, I'm glad we're able to bring this to people's homes right now because of what's all going on.
Use the time, guys. Use it well. That's all we got, right? Time. All right. Well, do I sign out now? Do I I don't know how to do these. I'm so bad with that. But
bye everyone. Stay safe.
Thanks guys. Thank you everyone. Be well.
Bye.